Have you ever met a rule like this?
It does not block you, but it makes you afraid to even think about running. Because the moment you move, the first thing in your mind is not the road, but your parents, children, and neighbors. That is where collective punishment truly traps people. Its real question is not how punishment falls, but how the net is woven. In this episode, we follow 3 questions. How does one person become a risk to everyone? Why do bystanders become guards? And why can a net erase the thought of escape? First, we kill the obvious version. This is not merely a story condemning cruelty. Cruelty existed. But if we only talk about cruelty, we miss the precision of the system. This net had an early institutional origin. Records of the Grand Historian describe Shang Yang's reforms. People were organized into groups, watching and answering for one another. This is not a decorative detail. Earlier in this series, we talked about Shang Yang. He connected desire and fear to the machinery of the state. But later, when he fled, an inn would not take him in without proper papers. The man who wove the net was eventually stopped by the net. So, collective punishment was not cruelty appearing out of nowhere. It was the shape that rules grew into over time. More importantly, Shang Yang's system was not first designed to display cruelty. It was designed so the state could see every person, where you lived, who lived near you, and who could be pulled out to answer when something went wrong. Once governance gains this kind of eyesight, a person can no longer exist only as himself. He also becomes an entry point, leading to the family and neighbors behind him. The sharpest part of collective punishment was not the final scene, but everything before it. Names had already been written into registers. Families had already been linked into units. Neighbors had already been folded into responsibility. One person never stood entirely alone. He stood behind his parents, before his wife and children, between clan and neighborhood. So the real question appears, when one person wants to run, is he only taking himself away or leaving the consequences to everyone else? Ancient governance cared deeply, not only about catching every person, but about knowing where each person belonged. Household registers told the authorities who you were, who was in your family, who lived near you, and if something happened to you, who could be questioned. This was the first layer of the net. It made identity hard to erase. The second layer was harsher. Responsibility could spread along relationships. This expansion has one painfully remembered named peak, Fang Xiaoru. After Zhu Di took Nanjing, Fang Xiaoru refused to write the enthronement edict for him. When later generations remembered this story, they remembered the punishment as implicating 10 groups. Beyond the 9 kin groups, students and friends were added. More than 800 people were drawn in. We do not need to dramatize the execution scene. What matters is this: how one person's refusal became a bill paid by many. This connects back to the episode on Zhu Di's rebellion. One man's survival could turn into many people's payment. The reason Fang Xiaoru must be named is not to enlarge suffering for display, but to give the mechanism a face. When refusal fell on one scholar, responsibility moved beyond his own body and spread into students and friends. Only then do you understand, collective punishment was not only striking one person down, it made everyone near him learn fear in advance. Your personal choice could become a risk for a whole group. At that point, escape changes meaning. It no longer only means survival, It also means implicating others. This does not mean everyone gave up. Of course, people fled in history. Some hid under new names, but the system did not need to make escape completely impossible. It only needed to make escape terrifyingly expensive. But this is not the deepest layer. The deeper question is, why do bystanders begin guarding you for the rule? A neighbor watches you, not necessarily because he is cruel, but because he is afraid. Your action may become his disaster. Your relatives urge you to stay still, not necessarily because they cannot feel injustice, but because they know. When you move, everyone shakes. This is the coldest part of mutual responsibility. It distributes fear to everyone, then makes everyone remind one another, do not cross the line. This was not only a psychological state, it could also become grassroots rules. For example, 10 households tied into one unit. If one household caused trouble, the other 9 could be questioned. The neighbor did not suddenly become evil. He was written by the system into your guard. One step from you could become danger for his family. This explains a strange phenomenon. Why, in many moments, the first person telling you not to move is not an official, but someone familiar. Because authority handed the cost to relationships. The denser the relationship, the earlier the warning appears, and guarding begins to sound like care. So the rule does not need to appear every moment. It can hide inside human relationships. A parent's worry, a child's tears, a neighbor's silence can all become threads of the net. That is why collective punishment cannot be told only as punishment. It is also an engineering of relationships. It takes the softest part of human life and turns it into the hardest thing to escape. Then was escape still possible? Of course it was possible. History is never a solid wall. Some people fled, some hid, some changed names. But for many ordinary people, flight was not simply taking another road. It meant throwing away everything that proved who they were, leaving household registration, leaving land, leaving familiar people, and gambling that no one recognized you, and that the people you left behind would not be questioned. At that point, escape becomes poisoned. It is no longer only freedom, it also carries guilt. It is no longer only a road, it is also a bill. Freedom begins charging the people you love. Put this layer into the present, and the net changes its form. It may be called a guarantee. It may be a background check that drags in relationships. Or it may sound like a considerate sentence. What happens to the team if you leave? Of course, this is not ancient punishment, but the direction of pressure feels familiar. It does not directly say, you cannot leave. It simply makes you think first. If I leave, who will suffer because of me? This is where the viewer can sit inside the story. You are not necessarily facing ancient collective punishment, but you may have faced a lighter kind of binding. You want to leave a relationship. Someone says you are selfish. You want to leave a position. Someone reminds you everyone will be affected. The choice has not disappeared, but the choice begins carrying debt. That is the echo of ancient mechanisms worth watching. What makes it harder is that this debt is often not forced on you by a villain. It appears wearing the clothes of responsibility. It appears wearing the clothes of family feeling, even wearing the clothes of being sensible. So you feel it is unfair, and at the same time, feel you cannot be too hard. When a system is at its most precise, it does not force you to admit it is right. It makes you worry about the consequences for it first. At that point, the net is no longer outside. It begins living inside human judgment. So the hardest thing to escape is not the command, but the sentence you use to persuade yourself. Forget it. Do not make it hard for others. The ancient net tightened through that sentence, and many traps today often begin with it too. It makes stepping back look mature, and enduring a little more look kind. But the cost has quietly changed owners. This is where the net hides best, and its coldest place. This is the harshest answer of the net. It does not lock the feet, it locks relationships. It does not erase direction, it erases the feeling that I can still choose. So how should we judge it? The real edge of collective punishment lies in how the net is woven, not in how the blade falls. Punishment is the final result. Mechanism is the long road before it. It turns bystanders into guards, turns loved ones into risk, turns escape into implication. That is its harshest part, and the part most worth remembering. Some nets do not surround you. They grow from inside your heart. So here is the question. Which frightens you more? A rule that openly blocks you, or a rule that does not block you, but makes you stop yourself? Tomorrow, we talk about King Wuling's riding and archery reform. A ruler made a whole kingdom change its clothes. So why was he finally starved by the rule he could not change? If you want to know more history buried by time, follow Hangshi.